Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about your admin toolkits within ShareFile. These should help you with setting up your account, setting the security properly, and going through a lot more than just those. Before we get started, wanted to say thank you for joining our webinar here today. For today's agenda, these are the items we wanted to go through. So they're going to be around changing the looks of your account to match your company or your organization, setting the file settings for folders and such, creating bulk actions, creating folder templates if you need it, and then setting security settings, as well as doing some kind of reporting and maybe choosing some of your storage options.
Yeah, and I think it's important to discuss that this is how we would go about setting up a new customer's actual ShareFile account.
Right.
We're going to go kind of in the order that we would do normally, but you know, if there's certain things that you already know, just wait until we get to the end, and we'll go through it all.
All right, so let's start the demo. Here we are in the ShareFile account, and we're going to start off with the branding. So to get to the branding page, you want to go to your admin settings and then go into company account info. And then from here, you'll see edit company branding. The top item here, that's going to be the name of your ShareFile account. So, you know, your company name or your organization's name, that's where I would change it. We also have these basic options here to adjust the title of the page for the ShareFile page. If you need to upload a logo, you can do it here. Just remember that the logo needs to be 400 pixels by 80 pixels tall. If you want to change the color of the headers and such, you can do that here too, as needed. Then you can also go into advanced appearance options here. Now, this is going to give you a whole lot more control. So if we look at the browser options here, again, we have that name and the favicon icon. So that would be this little icon here at the top of the page. And then you see, again, the header options for the logo, background colors and such, or even a background image. This, again, is the accent color here. This black bar that you see, that can change. And then even the login page, if you wanted a different logo for your login page, different color schemes, different background images, you can do that as well. If you have single sign-on enabled on your ShareFile account, you can change it so that it can show one side as saying employee login and then one side saying client login. And then any kind of text that you want to put in on the login page, you can also do that here as well. And then finally, any emails that you receive from ShareFile, you can also do some custom branding here as well too. Okay, and then the final item is the actual subdomains of your ShareFile account. So you're going to always have a primary ShareFile subdomain. So ours is webinardemo.sharefile.com. You can have up to 3, and if it needed to, the ShareFile will double check to see if it's already taken or not for you as well too. Okay, next one that we want to talk about is the file settings. So these are going to be your default folder settings. Now, we say that we want you to go through and do the file settings here first, because once you've already created the folder and you change these, the default settings on your folders will not change. So, for example, if you created a folder and you have it set for a retention policy of never, and then you went in here and decided to change the default to 30 days or 90 days, then that means that your existing folders will not change, right? And the retention policy is the period at which files stay within the folder. So what this means is after your initial upload date of the file, then after 90 days, then the file is automatically deleted.
Or edit.
Or
So,
yeah, if
right.
you edit it, then you can, the file will refresh on its upload date.
Correct.
Yeah. And sorting is pretty self-explanatory, but this is how the folders are sorted. The versioning is, like Ashley mentioned, if you were to edit a file and re-upload the file, then we can keep multiple versions of it. You can have it set to anything from unlimited to custom numbers. So, you know, something like 10,000 versions or even 50 versions, whatever you need, you can set that here as well too. Watermarking, that's going to be if you have sensitive documents that you do not want to be shared publicly, you can put watermarking on it so that it's not distributed widely. And storage quotas allow you to control how much data your users store within ShareFile, within their personal folders. So this is going to be the default, and if you need to, you can increase this, decrease this, and set hard limits on this storage quota as well too. Editing, we also have co-editing with Microsoft editing as well too, and where you can use Word docs, Excel sheets and such, and edit simultaneously with other users within ShareFile. All right, then the next item I'm going to cover is going to be bulk actions. So you can go into people, browse employees, and you could manually create employees one at a time here. And this is pretty, you know, that you got the first name, last name, email address, and then the permissions that the admin permissions and such that the users could have. But again, if you wanted to bulk add your employees to ShareFile, we have this option here in the top that shows a template that you can download. And let me open this real quick. So this is what the template's going to look like. Just going to have email, first name, last name, and company. And so let me go ahead and show you what that bulk upload process is going to look like. So now I've got John and Bill here. And if you needed to, you can add additional users here. And then you can set the user access as well as folder permissions as well too. Now, if you go into Browse Clients, we also have an option to add clients in bulk as well too. Same kind of process. You've got a template here. You can upload it, and then it'll create the users. And one last bulk item that I wanted to talk about is the bulk folders and bulk clients. So let's say, for example, you've got a list of 100 folders that you wanted to be automatically created within ShareFile. And on those 100 folders, you wanted to individually add a client user to those folders. Then we do have a process for that. You will just need to contact either your customer success engineer or support in order to get the folders created for you. Okay, next item is going to be folder templates. So now that you have your folders created inside ShareFile, let's talk about controlling who can, how your folder is going to look inside ShareFile. So if you do not want your users to manipulate the folder structure within ShareFile, this is going to be a good option. So folder templates allow you to create basically a folder template where these kind of folder structures can be applied to existing folders within ShareFile. So that's going to be under admin setting, advanced preferences, folder templates. And when you go to create a folder template, you'll give it a name, which is applied here at the top folder. And then if you need to add folders, it's just the add options and the rename, delete options. Now let me show you how to apply that folder here. So let's go into one of the folders inside the shared folder section. And go to edit advanced folder settings. And then here at the bottom, we have folder templates. We'll select use a folder template and then select the one we have and hit save. Now we have these folders automatically created. And if I wanted to try and go and delete these, it's going to tell me that I'm not authorized to delete it. If I wanted to change that, then you need to remove the folder template association, hit save, and then I can delete it. All right, and then the last item I wanted to talk about is going to be the email settings. So again, admin settings, advanced preferences, email settings. So from here, you can set how ShareFile notifications are sent out. This top one is if you wanted to have emails sent out from your personal email address. We do not recommend this one, so let's just keep it to ShareFile. Now, SMTP server settings. If you wanted ShareFile notifications to come from an email address that your clients could recognize, we have the option to set up a SMTP configuration with your mail servers. And next setting, notify users of their own activities. Whenever you upload files or download files into ShareFile, this just gives them a receipt of their activities. Same thing here, the upload receipts. Whenever you create a request file and users upload files to that request file, they can receive a upload receipt. Email notification settings here are the language settings and the frequency at which these ShareFile notifications will be going out. And encrypted emails, we also have a encrypted emails function within ShareFile, especially used within the Outlook plugin. And if you wanted to use that functionality, that toggle switches here. And then finally, secondary email addresses. If you wanted to allow your users to add a secondary email address to ShareFile, then we have this option. Typically, my recommendation here, again, is to set this to no, just so that users are not adding a personal email address to ShareFile. All right, now I'm going to pass it along to Ashley, and he's going to go through the rest of the demo.
All right. So now what we're going to look at is we're going to look at some security settings. So let's go ahead and pop over here to admin settings, security, login and security policy. And this is where we're going to kind of start. Actually, I'm going to start a little bit higher up. We're going to start under the password requirements. This is the section where you're going to set password requirements for your ShareFile users, so employees and clients that do not use single sign-on. If you are going to set up a company and you have like a specific idea of what password requirements you want to come in here and set those. You have a lot of different options in here to make sure that they meet the requirements for your company, and then you can obviously set those outside of SSO. So this would be for clients and employees who log in on the right side of the screen whenever they come to ShareFile. All right, let's go ahead and move over into the login and security policy. We have the ability to add trusted domains. If you were using iframe embedding or cores, you can add those trusted domains here. We also have two-step verification. This is one that a lot of our customers like to enable and require, but it is not necessarily required if you unselect these options, okay? So, for example, if you were to set client users to require two-step verification. Whenever they create their account, they're going to actually go through that two-step verification process, add a phone number and verify their account. If you unselect these and save it, so you opt out of two-step verification, when they log in, they won't be prompted to set it up. So a lot of people like to enable it across the board. Some people don't. So that's completely up to you and your company. We have a new setting in here, which is our share and request access options. This is new because anytime that you wanted to turn on require login on download or require login on upload, you had to go to support before this setting was created. Now you have the functionality and the ability to turn on required login on download and require login on upload directly from ShareFile. So for example, if you don't want your users sending anonymous links or links with name and email address, you can actually toggle this on and then they won't be able to. They would have to send that link as a required employee or a required client to log in order to actually access that link. All right, so we have some account lockout settings here. Obviously, this is self-explanatory. We have terms and conditions. If you want to add terms and conditions to your account so that when a user logs in, they have to accept those terms and conditions, please reach out to support. They can actually add those to your account for you. And same as IP restrictions. IP restrictions, we want to use specifically if you have a user base that you only want logging in from a specific area. So maybe you have employees that you only want to log in from your company network. You can supply those IP addresses and we can add them through support to basically deny anybody that's outside of that scope or allow anybody that's outside of the scope. There's a lot of different combinations that you can use. You can have approve or deny for clients and approve or deny for employees or both. So if you have any questions about that, please reach out to support or your CSE and we'll be able to help point you in the right direction. That is not a geo filter. That does not do like specific countries or anything like that. That's just something with a small set of IP addresses that if you want to use that, you can. All right, and then lastly, we have our authentication. This is going to be talking about the web app versus our actual applications like Outlook plugin and the ShareFile for Windows and Mac. So if we look at the first setting here, log inactive users out after, that's going to be talking about the web app. So if someone's using the web app and they haven't been active for an hour, they're going to get logged out. The re-authenticate after is going to be for our apps. So you can set that to never, and whenever someone logs into their ShareFile for Windows, they won't have to re-authenticate. The auth token will stay valid. But if you want to change that to maybe every 7 days, you want them to re-authenticate just so that it's not open and still running in the background, you can also change that. There's a lot of different options here, all the way up to 90 days or never. Next, we are going to talk about single sign-on. I know a lot of our bigger companies love single sign-on because they don't have to actually have users sign in with ShareFile credentials. They can set up single sign-on with their SSO provider. And basically what you would do is you would come in here. We have a full list of IDPs that we support. So ShareFile, SSO. And here is a little document here. I'll show you where these are some of the supported configurations that we have. So Okta, ADFS, NetScaler. We also have some Ping Federate. We have a lot of different configurations for SSO. So if you are one of those companies that maybe hasn't set up SSO and ShareFile yet, you can reach out to your CSEs, or you can look through this document here and go ahead and fill out the settings here, set up your IDP for it, and then you should have that configured And any questions regarding that, please reach out to your CSE. Also, we have the ability to require SSO logins for employees. So, for example, if you want to force your employees to always sign in with single sign-on, you would go ahead and enable this. What that's going to do is anytime they try to sign in, maybe on the right-hand side where the clients sign in, maybe with their regular ShareFile email address and password, it's going to block them and prevent them from signing in there and make them go over to the actual employee sign in on the left-hand side. All right, so now that we've kind of talked about that, I want to go to the next section, which is the super user group. The super user group is going to be a group of admins or employees that have access to all the files and folders are on ShareFile. They're going to be the ones who can make changes to folders. They would be an admin on all files and folders on the account, so they could change folders, rename folders, delete folders. It's really just a group of users that are able to kind of facilitate or review any files and folders that they need to. That is, again, completely separate from the admin permissions, but it does allow users to have access to those files and folders if they need to. All right. Next, we're going to go ahead and talk about some Outlook plugin settings. The Outlook plugin is something big that our customers use. They love to use it because of the functionality within it and how easy it is from Outlook to be able to request files, share files, and I just want to kind of touch on some of the options within it that we can set and make defaults, okay? So if you want to go into settings, admin settings, advanced preferences, and then enable ShareFile tools, you'll see desktop apps and the Outlook plugin. Go ahead and click on configure plugin, and you'll see some options here. Okay, under the attachment policy, one of the main options we like to set for our Outlook plugin is an expiration policy. So for example, if we want to set an expiration policy and allow the links to only be available for a certain amount of time, we can go ahead and change this to, say, for example, a week. So after we send that email with the actual link, after a week, we want it to be dead. We can go ahead and change that and set it to the default, or we can also prevent users from changing it. So it may be a default on there, but maybe you have some users that don't always need it to be a week. You can have them show them how to get in there and actually change that expiration policy. But once you set it to prevent user changes, basically everybody that has the Outlook plugin will have that setting and cannot change it. So go ahead.
There's a question in here that I kind of wanted to touch on real quickly.
Okay.
So Val asked whether, if the user doesn't have a ShareFile account and we send it for login required, I just want everyone on the call to know that ShareFile will send them a activation link.
Yes.
In order automatically, so that they don't have to go through like one of your users to get a ShareFile account created.
Right. So they'll get an account creation email as well as the email to access the item. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on over to some link options. I want to touch this one real quick too. The download default level. This is what we were talking about. Are we requiring users to employees and clients to log in, or are we just requiring anybody to log in? So for this example, we have it set to require login whenever a user receives a link or a file within the Outlook plugin. That means that they would have to create an account and log in order to access that file. If you wanted to set this to public, for example, though, that means anybody, as soon as you send that email from the Outlook plugin, whoever has access to that link, they would then be able to open that file, see the file. There's no login required there. So there's a couple different options there. Again, I want to highlight, you can change this to just be set as default or prevent user changes. And lastly, we're gonna look at encrypted email. You can't require encrypted email to be on for every email sent out, but you do have some options here to change the access level, like we were just talking about, and like notify on read. There's a few more settings in here specifically related to encrypted email that obviously you can look through and see if something works for your company. But that's all I really wanted to touch on this. And I do want to also say, once you save this, it will get pushed out to all the users that are using the Outlook plugin. So it's not like you have to go to each individual user and change this. This is automatically done for you once you click save here, and those changes go into effect. Okay, now we're going to go and talk about some reporting, which I know a lot of companies like reporting. They like to see recurring reports to see, you know, access and usage and things like that. If we pull up our reporting tab under company account info, we can go ahead and create reports. And we have a long list of reports that you can actually view. And if you want to see any examples, go ahead and click the see examples option. It'll go through all the report types. It'll tell you how to create a report. It'll tell you how to do a recurring report, which we're going to do just here in a second. But there are a lot of options here, and you can get really granular with the activity that you want to see. For example, this is a usage report. You can do a custom date range. We recommend trying to do it within 30 days because if you're a big account and you have a lot of data, your CSV or your Excel can only hold so much data. So we want to make sure that we try and keep it to 30 days. But you have the option to select it based on a user account. You can select it based on folder activity. You have a lot of different activity types. And then if you want to make it a recurring, you can select recurring. So for example, let's just go ahead and do a user. And we're going to do, let's see here. Let's see if Tepe is on here. Okay, so we're going to say that, and then we're just going to say next. We get to select when we want it to be recurring. Do we want it daily, weekly, monthly? And then we get to tell it where to save it. So when you're doing a recurring report, it's going to put it in a folder for you so that you know where it's at every time. For example, I'm going to select this webinar too. We're going to do a monthly report, and you get to pick what day of the month. Maybe you want it on the second day of the month. Let's go ahead and click create. And then, you know, once that's created, you'll actually see the activity here of that. And once the actual report gets created, it would be put into this folder. Okay. And you can see this is my new one. It automatically does it. And then every second of the month, it will do it from now on out. So that's really a high level overview of reporting. The next thing I want to talk about is our storage. This is a big thing for customers who maybe have on-prem and they're moving to cloud storage, or maybe you have a couple different offices that are in different geolocations. We have the ability to add storage zones based on geolocation for your account if you have a need for it. So for example, if you have a department that's on the East Coast and you have a department that's on the West Coast, and you want to specify specific folders to be in our ShareFile US East zone, you have the ability to request that, and you can request that by reaching out to support. You also we have zones in Europe and APAC. So we have a lot of zones around the world that we can actually work with you on to get enabled on your accounts. And you would be able to see those zones under the storage zones option here, and then under Citrix Managed. If you have a on-premise storage zone, it will be located here, and you would actually be able to see some details about that customer managed storage zone. You would be able to see what data is on there, how much is on there, recent activities, all of those things on your on-premise. But with the ShareFile manage storage zone, you just kind of get a little bit of detail here. And we'll be adding more to this later. But right now, this is kind of what you would see. And I'm going to kind of go through what you would do to add these storage zones to folders real quick. We always assign a storage zone based on the root level folder. Okay. So for example, webinar 2 is a root level folder. It's the top level folder in our shared folders. If we go into it, we have the ability to change the default zone. For example, right now it's on ShareFile US West. And if we wanted to maybe switch it to the US East zone, we could just go in here, select this, and click save. And what that's going to do is that's going to move all the data that was in the webinar 2 folder and all the data below it into a new storage zone. It would basically migrate that data. So everything within the webinar 2 folder is going to be in one storage zone. And then, for example, everything in this webinar test folder may be in a different storage zone. And that's how we do it. We don't select storage zones lower down in the folder path. For example, if I create a test folder here, if I could type, if I create a test folder here, I don't have the ability to set it to a specific storage zone because that setting is only at the root level folder. And I just wanted to hammer that home just in case there was any confusion about where you can set the actual storage zone to be located. All right. One more thing we want to talk about real quick is DLP. And I know this is more for our on-prem storage zone customers because we don't have DLP in our ShareFile, yeah, cloud storage. So let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. So I'm in settings. We're going to go to security and DLP. If you have an on-premise storage zone controller and you want to use DLP, we have the ability to turn this on. You have the ability to turn this on and actually use this. And this is going to give you some features and access to files based on their content. I'll kind of show you what that looks like here. Well, it's not gonna load it for me right now, but that's okay. So basically, you would have the access to a third-party data loss prevention system that would scan the files, determine, what their content is, and allow you to access them or not based on that scan. Right. So, and that's for on-prem storage zones. All right, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and this is new. This is something that just came out, and I think a lot of you guys are going to be excited about it. It is our threat detection for invalid logins and people logging in from a different location. Let me go ahead and show this video, and I'm going to kind of talk over it so you can see what's going on. And I think this is going to be great for a lot of people, and I'm excited to show it here. So we're going to go ahead and start off by showing that we have an admin here that's in a ShareFile account. He's looking at some users' personal folders. He notices that Nitin Kumar is on this folder. He is a valid user. He's an employee. But we see that we have a threat and a unusual sign-in activity for Nitin, okay? So we get a notification that he's signing in from Las Vegas, and that's not normally where he signs in from. So we can actually select that link in the email, and it's going to bring us into a specific area in ShareFile that shows activity and security alerts, where we can see failed sign-in attempts. Maybe they signed in from an unusual location. You can also see their folder activity. So maybe they signed in and it didn't look right. You can actually go in and see what they've been working on. If they deleted something within the last 7 days, 24 hours, just in case something malicious happened, you actually get to see what they did. And this is super cool because, a lot of times we have customers that say, hey, something was a little off, but we don't really know what's going on. Can we see the last activity for that user? This is new. This is great. This is going to show you that. Also, it gives us access to log the user out if we think that there's something funny going on, reset their password, remove them from folders. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in here that I think you guys are really going to be able to leverage and keep your accounts safer, essentially. If you look in security and then under security alert settings, you will then be able to see, you may not have this on your account yet. I will say that on the beginning. This is getting rolled out right now. So be patient if you don't see it, but it will be out soon. You have different security alerts that you can set for the admin, the employee, or the clients. So if you maybe don't want to see all of this info for all the clients, you can select, deselect that.
This is for the clients receiving the notifications. So this is the admin, you can decide who receives the notification. So whether it be the admins on the ShareFile account, the employees, or even the client.
Right.
So whether it be, based on these different activity types.
Yes, based on these. Yes, exactly. So, and we have quite a few here. I mean, stuff that is unusual, right? So that's really what we wanted to show with this demo, is that we are now implementing some of these more security advanced features in order to help protect your account from anything that seems a little off. I think we're going to go ahead and jump into our Q&A session.
What is the best practice to restructure an existing filing system in a ShareFile? We would like to complete reorganization without losing data, or not sure the best way to achieve that. We also want to provide our clients with access, right?
I would just say that it's smart to look at your files and folders that you have now, whiteboard it, come up with an idea that makes the most sense for your company and how it's structured. So whether you have specific departments that you're using, whether you have specific client users that go into specific groups, and leverage. So a couple of things, I've been talking to customers about this a lot, is you want to really take advantage of distribution groups, because distribution groups allow you to set permissions on folders with a group in mind. So whenever you're going back through and you're looking at how can I reorganize my folders and my users so that it's not so complicated, you want to think very broad whenever you're talking about how you're going to start your folder structures. You might want to take some time, whiteboard it, try and figure out what the best structure is going to be for you and your company based on department, based on clients, and then build out distribution groups for permissions in order to keep it so that you're not always changing individual user permissions on folders. And that's just a couple different things that I can think of. Tepe, if you have anything.
Yeah, and another good thing is if your users are leveraging the personal folders, try to get them to move away from the personal folders and go towards just using shared folder sections, right? And in the shared folder section, like Ashley was saying, use organizational groups, or and if you have a lot of folders, go wide, don't go deep. Once you start going into deeper and deeper folder structures, then you can have issues with long file paths and files just not functioning properly, or even just like delays with ShareFile. So wide is preferred over deep folder structures.
Yeah, and propagation of permissions and stuff is easier whenever you have a wider folder structure.
And what Ashley means by that is when you apply, let's say, a set of permissions to a user at the top level, those permissions need to be applied way down to the folder structures underneath. So if you have a wider structure, then it's less of an issue with those permissions.
Yep. All right.
Let's see. What's another one? Is it possible to add AD group as a super user and remove individual AD accounts as a super user?
So for super user, the super user group, we don't add, it's not a group thing. It's an individual user thing. So when you're talking about groups, it just doesn't, we don't have the ability to do that. Whenever you come in here to the super user group, you're just talking about specific users that have access to all of the data on your ShareFile account.
Right.
So unfortunately, no, we don't have the ability
Yeah.
to do groups.
No, because basically this is its own group
Right.
already.
It's already its own group.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. Actually, you see another one that might be a good one?
Hey Tepe, I had marked one for answering live from Juan. It was from earlier in the demonstration. Would you guys mind tackling that one?
Okay, let me see. Where is it?
It should be at the very top.
Very top. Why don't you recommend selecting the option to send emails with our own email address? So
You go into it.
yeah, so if we go back into the email settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, this option. Now, the reason we recommend that you don't set this to your personal email address is basically all of the ShareFile notifications are going to be coming from your personal or your corporate email address, which means that if it's flagged as like spam or something along those lines, then all your future emails are going to go into spam.
And also we provide a service to do this.
Yeah.
Also, if you start sending all of your emails from yourself, you may have limits on your
Right.
your account. So, you know, from ShareFile, you can send as many notifications as you want, and it's not going to get bogged down. It's not going to hit a limit, but maybe say your mailbox only has the ability to send 5,000 emails a day. And if you guys go over that, then you're going to be in trouble. And then users are not going to be receiving notifications and everybody's not going to be happy at that point. So that's why we just recommend sending emails from ShareFile. Carla says that she's having difficulty with the search option. Not all of the folders containing the search term display. There, you may have to, sometimes if that's the case, there is a thing called a reindex on your account. So if you're not seeing all the folders or all of the items, maybe reach out to support and see if they can reindex your account, and that should help. If not, you may want to make sure that you're putting in full words and not partial words. I know that in the past, putting in like the first full word seems to pull up more data than just like a partial word. So go ahead and try that too.
Now, Damon also mentioned, asked, after downloading the usage report, we're getting anonymous and no reply at sf-notifications.com as listed names and emails for individuals who viewed and downloaded content that was gated under the parameters that you're to enter your name and email and company to get access. How do we get those emails and names instead of what we are currently seeing on the report? Now, from my understanding, if you're seeing anonymous, that might be because the individual has gone and changed that requirement from basically requiring name and email to setting it to anonymous, or the person who's downloaded the content has actually put in anonymous, and that email address, the no reply email address, as the contact information there. We have no control as to what that user puts in there, so that might be actually what you're seeing.
I did want to bring up another question here. They were talking about retention policies, and they wanted to know how to go back and change retention policies on files or folders that already have a retention, and maybe they changed the default. You have the ability to come in here to the folder itself and change retention. You can change it here, or you can also, we have a script that we can run to change file retention. That would be another thing you would need to reach out to support or your CSE And we can provide that script to, if so say you have 100 folders and you want to do it all on those folders, we can change the default retention for all of those with a script. So just reach out to CSEs or support for that.
Jonah asked a good one here too. What is the best online resource link for admin feature questions and such? So that's going to be our docs page. So that is just going to be docs.sharefile.com. And this has all our product information for ShareFile, right signature, and Podio. And you know, if you can't get the answers from the documentations, you can always have a customer success engineer reach out to you. You should be able to just contact your account manager or your sales rep, and they should be able to get you a CSE. We also have the YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/ShareFile. And we also host these ShareFile webinars pretty regularly.
Yeah, I did want to point out, since we're on the docs site here, we do have what's new in ShareFile. And this is a great place to stay up to date with what we've been coming out with, or what we're implementing into ShareFile. As you can see here, what we just talked about was the threat detection alerts on this video. So you can see that here. If you have any questions about that, you can actually select this link and it will take you to that page, which shows, you know, all of the alerts and recipients, you know, all of the different activities and types and actions, and then the threat remediation, all of that. Basically, I think it would be good if you look through this and tried to see if there's anything maybe that we've came out with recently that maybe interests you. And again, you can reach out to your CSE if you have any questions.
That chat right there.
The chat, yep.
Yep.
So then you can come into here and you can say, I need technical support, I have some questions, speak with sales, and questions about my account. You can go through this bot and it will get you to who you need to talk to.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Susan asked, I'm in the process of changing the company name. It's my understanding that I add a second subdomain name and leave the original, correct? Then do I give my clients the new subdomain name and they will have access to their folder without issue? Yes, that's correct. So whenever you add additional subdomains to your ShareFile account, you can use any of the three subdomains that are associated with the ShareFile account, and your users will be able to log in with their same login credentials and see the same content.
Okay, so here's a question. Under apps and features, should we have two separate installs, one as ShareFile and one as ShareFile for Outlook? Is this correct? So it just depends. If you're using the Outlook plugin, you're going to have ShareFile for Outlook, which would be your Outlook plugin. That gets installed into Outlook, and it's just an add-on for Outlook. But if you have ShareFile for Windows, maybe you're running a Windows machine, you also have ShareFile in there. And that's likely what you're seeing. You're seeing ShareFile for Windows and ShareFile for Outlook. And both are great tools. One is more focused around accessing your files. So ShareFile for Windows is more around accessing your files from your Windows Explorer and navigating those files and updating and editing those. And then the Outlook plugin is more for sending and receiving files through the Outlook. So they both have functions, and they're both great in their own rights, but each is a little bit different. And that's probably why you're seeing those two.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Let's just wrap this up with Ashley, if you could go to our YouTube page. I'd like to show everyone, since we've got, high level users here in the webinar, our previous admin webinars that we have.
That you can see over here on the right hand side. If you have any questions about maybe something that you're doing and you just see it in this list and you're like, oh, I want to do that. Go ahead and select that video and watch it. Super helpful to get caught up to speed on where you're at with ShareFile.
Yeah, thank you, folks. Thank you for taking time out of your day to again join us for the webinar, and thank you for being a ShareFile customer.
Yep, we'll see you.